So I just watched Cutting Edge, and it really feels a little bit foreshadowy in here. Also known as the episode where the last female in the cast gets stuck with babysitting duty. This one focuses on two of the young proto-humans getting ambushed and separated from their pack by Megatron's newest play toys, some cyber raptors that he has developed. It is up to Cheetor and Blackarachnia to get the kids home, and yeah, that if it sounds really like if it sounds really low risk for a season 3 episode, you're not entirely wrong. So for starters, it's an arthropoid episode, so keep in mind, the way we are positioned in season 3, there are no more stasis pods, there's no more hunting for Energon, so we're in this weird period where we kind of need other things to kind of mix up the plots of every episode. I feel like we're deep enough into the season that every episode should be progressing the overall plot and everyone should feel like a big deal. So when something just feels like Megatron's playing with things, it's kind of a throwback to season 1, but maybe not like the most appropriate thing to do when the stakes are supposed to be so high here. We'll get into that. So I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I might just stick to major points instead of going through it in order, but stick with me. I'll go through everything. So we reestablish a few aspects with this episode. For starters, Megatron is still searching for the proto-humans because killing them off would still disrupt humanity and possibly obtain his goal without having to get the Ark. So, okay, that makes sense. It's also him starting to develop tech again, which we haven't seen in a long while. In this case, he is developing Transmetal 2 technology. He's trying to create his own transmetals. And that is what these cyber raptors are intended to be. It's not a bad idea. It makes sense for Megatron to try and obtain more powerful Predacons, etc. But and I'm not sure that we need an entire episode devoted to showing an example of it, though. That might be that's kind of my weird thing. The Cyberraptors themselves, like I said, feel like a throwback to Season 1's Weapon of the Week plots. And it does make sense because Megatron has already cloned Dinobot before. So this is kind of rehashing something that we know he's already capable of, but working in the transmetal technology as a furthering of that original experiment. In that, the plot makes sense. Like I said, it's just a little bit weird to throw into Season 3 when things are already supposed to be really, really big and dire. Like I said, eliminating the proto-humans, that is something that would be really bad. But, this episode focuses on two younglings, and that's about as far as we go with it. So, the more interesting than the A plot in this episode is the B plot, the stuff that's going on in the background. And that is something of a juggle between Blackarachnia, Cheetor, with Silverbolt and Rattrap playing kind of support roles. Blackarachnia herself is shown to be going through her own agenda, as Blackarachnia tends to do no matter what side she is on. Early in the episode, we see her sneaking a canister that has a data track hidden in it. Rattrap catches her doing this. And later in the episode, when we have the Cyberraptors defeated, we find her stealing one of their chips to go and study later. You can kind of surmise that she is trying to figure out how to gain more power. But again, it's handled with enough decor. It's handled gently enough that you're not really sure what her end goal is. If she is ultimately going to betray the Maximals, if this is something for her own personal needs, if this is her making a play for power again, we genuinely don't know. And that is a good thing. Blackarachnia right now is kind of an untested commodity amongst the Maximals. She's there because she's in love with Silverbolt. But that's only as far as it goes. She's not a good person, not yet. But in this episode, she is trying. She is at least trying to be a team player and trying to act like a Predacon. She gets this assignment because she knows Megatron best, which I feel is kind of a flimsy excuse, because at this point everyone there should know Megatron pretty well. None of them know what the Cyber Raptors are all about, so I don't know how it makes sense there. But it is a situation. Basically, the whole episode is designed to put Blackarachnia in a situation where she has to show if she is actually trying to get along and trying to act more like a hero in this. And there are moments where she can escape but chooses to save the kids instead. There is a moment where she self-sacrifices to save the kids from a shot from tarantulas. And she plays it off like it wasn't intentional, but you do definitely get the feeling that yes, it's absolutely intentional and she's just trying to save face. She's trying, Like I said, she's not a good person, not yet, but she's trying to be better. And that is a good level of development here. She's not instantly a Maximal. She's not instantly a hero. She has to work herself up to that. And showing a little bit of selflessness, good first step. Then there's Cheetor and Silverbolt in the episode, where Cheetor is developing a crush on Blackarachnia, which that takes some lug nuts considering she's dating your friend. And speaking of, Silverbolt shows a pretty nasty side to himself here, both in defending Blackarachnia from Rat Trap's accusations, but also really being upset with Cheetor's advances. Understandably so. So Cheetor spends the episode trying to prove himself to Blackarachnia and trying to be flattering to her, and when he gets rebuked, he starts showing a more aggressive side to him. Cheetor's growing up too, and this episode is used to show that. This is an episode where it doesn't do much for the overall plot, but it does show character growth for both Cheetor and Blackarachnia. It foreshadows what kind of character arcs they're going to go through for the third season, and we get foreshadowing for what Megatron is up to. So this episode is basically set up, and it's set up in what is essentially a bottle episode. If you don't know what a bottle episode is, it's when a TV show is trying to get one more episode for a season as cheap as possible. So let's reuse Dinobot's Beast Mode to make a threat for the week. Let's bring back the anthropoids because we already have those models produced and it lets us put more in the episode. It feels like they're budgeting the episode a little bit by reusing a lot of stuff. Not necessarily a bad thing. It can be clever, but it definitely feels like the substance for the overall series is put on the back burner to assemble all this stuff as setup. So it's a setup episode, pure and simple. So for some minor things to make note of here, see, the Cyber Raptors, like a video game boss, they have a very obvious blinking weak point on them, which seems like a pretty big oversight, but they're test runs, so we can forgive it. This episode also shows us Tarantulas is back to working with Megatron now that their goals align again, and we get to see the first instance of Optimus being disabled. He's going through the Superman complex now, where if you don't disable him in the story, it would end too fast. So we're going to see a lot of different ways where he's kind of taken out of the action early, so the fight doesn't just end immediately because he's that big and powerful now. And that's going to happen until we get to Transmetal 2 Megatron to act as a countermeasure. But this is like the funniest. This is the Transmetal Cyber Venom, which is like the funniest way of dealing with Primal. Also, Depth Charge actually looks cool, finally. He actually is acting cool and helping out the team instead of just being, a royal douche. So, good on them. The episode overall, I would call, on the high end of passable. Like I said, it's mostly set up. The stakes feel low, even though they shouldn't with what's going on. And I could have used a little bit more substance for the overall arc of Season 3. rather than just essentially what's setting up the next episode we're going to talk about. So that is Cutting Edge, and stay tuned. The next episode, hopefully, will be coming up soon. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.